Welcome back to the Growth Minded Marketing Podcast, the show where we help CEOs and their teams simplify marketing, lead with clarity, and grow their businesses. I'm Annie Laurie Walters, and I'm here with Steve Phipps, founder of Wayfind Marketing.
And on this podcast, we talk with growth-minded leaders, CEOs, business owners, about what it really takes to build and scale a business. And we don't talk about just the wins, but the decisions, the trade-offs, the challenges, and the clarity that it takes to keep moving forward.
You know, some businesses start with spreadsheets, forecasts, and a detailed roadmap. But today's guests, the founders of Oh Grate, started because people kept knocking on the door and asking for more food. Amy and Courtney didn't wait for perfect conditions. They built something real by listening, pivoting, and taking the next step as it came. They're founders who stay connected to their customers and aren't afraid to build the plane while they're still flying it.
And what stood out to me in my conversation with them is how naturally they have stepped into their strengths. On one hand, Courtney brings ideas and big picture thinking, and Amy brings clarity and structure. And together, they've created this partnership that works really well. And not because they each try to do everything, but because they're honest about what they each do the best.
And you know, it's funny. I know Amy personally. She's another fellow Union University graduate. And the whole time I've known her to be a smart, steady, and hilarious woman who has a real gift for marketing and for taking ideas and giving them direction. And what's neat is combined with Courtney's instinct for momentum and all of her ideation, you get this great, innovative business that's moving forward and going into places and doing things that I don't think either of them may have ever expected when they first started.
I guess you could say they built a great business.
I think you're right.
Dad jokes aside, what I've really enjoyed about this conversation is how honest they were about this partnership, the strengths that they lean into, the areas that they don't try to carry alone, and the way they keep learning as they grow. You know, they're very clear. They've not been perfect in their execution, but they've continued to learn and move forward. And as you'll hear, they didn't just build a frozen meal company. They've built something that is focused on giving families some time back. And that could be the most valuable thing that any business can offer.
Definitely. So today we're pulling back the curtain on how Oh Grate went from meals in a cooler to landing in Kroger, and why their story matters for every CEO who's trying to scale without losing themselves in the process.
Let's get into it. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Growth Minded Marketing. And, you know, one of the things that I enjoy the most with this podcast is getting to talk to different business owners and CEOs and hearing their stories. And so today I have with me Courtney and Amy, who have started Oh Grate, and such a cool story. So I'm really looking forward to diving in. So Amy, Courtney, why don't y'all go ahead and just introduce yourselves and tell us more about Oh Grate, what you guys do, and how you got started.
Well, thanks for having us on, Steve. We are really happy to be here on, especially a podcast just named Growth Minded Marketing. I feel like that is that is just a brilliant name for a podcast.
Well, thank you.
Happy to be here. So
Thank you.
I'm Amy, and this is Courtney, and she really is the brainchild behind Oh Grate, and she wrangled me into this. I'm going to let her tell you.
No pressure there, Courtney.
I like the start of her. It all started with her little entrepreneurial brain here. Well, I had actually spent 18 years in property management, and my husband and I were looking to diversify some investments and purchased a little hole-in-the-wall restaurant, did that for a little while, and decided at one point, well, I'm just going to sell it and be a stay-at-home mom. Well, that lasted about 3 weeks. My mind didn't even last that long. And so I just started really thinking through different ideas. In the meantime, people were contacting me, customers from my restaurant, wanting me to make these meals that we had made that the new owner was no longer doing. So things like pot roast or shepherd's pie, chicken pot pie. So next thing I know, I'm making these things at home, setting them out front in a cooler, and folks are coming by and picking them up and leaving me some cash. Okay, great. But is this really what I want to do? So my husband actually encouraged me to really think through that and really recognize the opportunity that kind of laid before me. So I wrote out a business plan, came up with a name, and I really spent a lot of time trying to focus on my weaknesses and my strengths. Wrote all that out and really took a lot of time too to consider like what could have really gone better with my restaurant? What could I have done differently? So this is kind of a second chance. I really tried to take that mindset. So I knew kind of instantly the areas that I don't enjoy at all. And I knew that if I were stuck in those areas again, that it would really drag you down just day to day. So I just thought, you know what? I need to try to find a business partner, somebody that can
Yes.
complement me, my weaknesses. And I was actually friends with Amy's husband, Russ, and we went to school together and he occupied the space next door to my restaurant. So
Okay.
I had met Amy along the way, just kind of briefly. We'd had a conversation about changing schools for kids and for my kids. And we just went to breakfast. And the more we talked at breakfast that day, I was like, goodness, I think she might be my girl. I think she might be my person. So I kind of just laid it out there, like what I was thinking about doing. I didn't really say, hey, do you want to do this with me just yet?
Yeah.
You did. Okay.
I think she was.
I was probably alluding to it. And then I was like, do you want breakfast again? And then so we go to breakfast again. I was like, okay, you have to do this for me. I didn't think I asked. I just told her.
It was just an assumed agreement of, hey, here's what
I'll
I'm doing.
think
When
about
do you
it.
want
I
to
was like,
start? Yeah.
okay. She's like, I'll think about it. And I'm going, but really, no, just.
You're like, no, you're not. You're good. You're good. It's a yes. Just
All right.
okay.
No.
Now that I know Courtney, I definitely know because you're not going to tell Courtney no. And when she comes up with these ideas, and we are great partners when it comes to that, because she comes up with all these ideas, and my brain immediately is like, we got to make this happen. How are we going to make this happen? And this partnership has been one of the biggest secrets to success of which I know everyone doesn't is not a fan of having a business partner, but for us, the way that we have outlined our responsibilities and roles and really mapped out our strengths and weaknesses has really helped propel us forward. So it was an easy yes for me once I really got my head around what the idea was and how we could really do this together.
When did you guys start? And so the name of the company is Oh Grate. And so Courtney, was that the original name that you came up with?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how long ago did you guys start the company?
It was 2019.
Yeah.
And 2019? Yeah, 2019.
All right.
Before COVID, the pandemic, and all of that. And I can jump in and address that now because that was a big growth in our business. And this is a good example of things that we learned along the way. We had been in business for about a year. We had set up this frozen meal business where we were doing home deliveries to people's house. And we had just started partnering with some local boutique stores to get our food in their stores and people coming there. And then COVID happened and everything shut down. And one of Courtney's big points of starting the business was kind of the marketing points was gathering families around the dinner table again. Well, the COVID happens and everyone was wanting to gather their family around the dinner table. And so unintentionally, our marketing really aligned with what everyone was needing. And we were already set up for home delivery. And then our partnership with the local stores allowed those stores to stay in business because they were then deemed essential because they carried food.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
yeah. And I think that was our first big, like, aha moment of like, maybe we're on to something here. Besides kind of our little smaller idea of what we thought it was going to be.
So talk to me a little bit more about that. So I love that idea of gathering families around the table. And I'm going to frame this. One of the things that we do when working with people is helping them think through their messaging and identifying what's the problem that you're solving. especially when that problem resonates at a deeper level. I love the fact that you guys aren't looking just at the convenience factor, but that this is an opportunity for families to reconnect. And so I love that deeper thread. But talk a little bit more about what you were just saying, Amy, and that's you're starting to see that maybe there's something bigger here. So what were some of the things that you were seeing there that made you think this is something bigger? And what did that look like?
Yeah, I think Courtney's original idea, and she can speak to this, of this gathering families around the dinner table. At some point, she came to me and was like, you know what? We're not selling food, we're selling time because moms are busy and moms carry this mom guilt and the mental load. And dads probably do too. I'm just saying, moms generally are responsible for dinner and even breakfast. We've added breakfast to the menu
And laundry
and laundry.
and
Well, it's
Oh, I know my wife has the hardest job. I get it.
loading the groceries, meal planning, you name it. We're striking a nerve here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it does strike a nerve. And so when she came to me, I remember the day and she was like, it's not about the food. As far as our marketing approach, yes, our food needs to be good and delicious, but it is solving a problem and it's solving the problem of time. Courtney always is saying, you know, half the time she's standing up while she's eating and doing the dishes after she's already cooked the food. And this concept that we have created and the marketing that has gone along with it is selling something more than just our product. We are giving people peace of mind. We're giving them the permission to stick a frozen meal in the dinner and throw away the pan and not have to do dishes and know that everyone's going to like the chicken spaghetti that they serve. That resonates with people more than just here is a pan of really good chicken spaghetti.
When we think about messaging, and especially in the context of story, for folks that may have read Donald Miller's Story Brand, I was a certified story brand guide for 5 years. And within that framework, he talks about the problem exists at different levels. And you guys have gone to that deeper level. And that's really where loyalty gets created. Because, yes, like you said, the food needs to taste good, it needs to be priced fairly, it needs to check all those boxes. But when you can really connect at that deeper level of giving some of the freedom back, giving some time back, and hitting that deeper need, that's where you start getting to the heart. I love how you guys have really focused in on that. And you know your audience. I mean, you are your audience and you know your audience. And so you're just hitting straight to the heart of the matter. Courtney, I want to go back to what you were talking about here in just a moment. So now you guys, just to fast forward, I mean, you guys are now in Kroger. So obviously, Amy, as you said, you saw that there was more here. I mean, this is a bigger opportunity, and you guys are certainly growth minded. And when I know Amy in our previous conversations, you guys have big plans. But I want to go back because something that I know is essential for this company to work and function is, Courtney, what you said coming out of the gate is recognizing your strengths and weaknesses and needing to find somebody else to complement that. And I think for a lot of business owners and CEOs, sometimes that's a missing piece. And it doesn't always look like a business partner, like it is in y'all's case, but is recognizing that as the leader of the business, you can't do everything. Courtney, would you unpack that a little bit? What did that look like, that process of what did you see as your strengths? And what was it that you recognized you needed somebody else to help do so that, like you said, you didn't get stuck back in those things that were just going to burn you out?
For me, being just creative and a visionary person, that I would have all these ideas, and it can become extremely frustrating when none of it can happen because you're in the day to day. Your hands are in everything. And it's true in so many areas of life. If you're stretched thin, then everything suffers. So I just really took the time to look at each area within the business, from financially to marketing, all of it, and then the day to day, because I mean, every small business, when you start, you're still in the day to day. And I actually reflect on that a lot. If I didn't have Amy from the very beginning, we just wouldn't be where we are. There's no way. It probably wouldn't even be here, period. So it really just has enabled us to take it to another level. And quite frankly, we've hit that ceiling again. So there's always a ceiling. And I'm not an expert in any of these areas. I'm learning, but my philosophy is I have to invest in myself personally and continue to learn and grow personally in my personal development And then that translates here while also focusing on my leadership skills and those types of things. So I knew in my history of like working in property management, I had lots of properties that I was over. I traveled all the time. I had probably a team of about 60 people. So I knew leadership was definitely, a higher level leadership was a strength of mine, but I knew I had to get back in the weeds with everybody, roll my sleeves up, just as I'd done in the restaurant. But you can get lost in that because you're exhausted every day.
Yeah.
When you put, it's harder to think just bigger picture on things. So again, I just went back to that, and we still have to do that here. I was in the kitchen this morning. It happens, but the reality is that if we're constantly trying to shift our habits and shift our mindsets to, okay, it's time, we have to hire somebody that's better than me at this. I need somebody smarter than me and better than me in this specific area. We have to hire somebody for that so we can continue to grow. Otherwise, I don't want us to become complacent and content with what we've got because it's not good enough. I just want to continue to grow. I want our team to continue to grow. And then that enables us to pour into our team because none of this would be possible without them. And so the more we're pushing ourselves and pushing this business and elevating it, it just enables us to allow it to come full circle to everybody here that's making this happen.
Yeah. So, Courtney, you're the big picture, the visionary. You guys may be familiar, but there's a business operating framework called EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. And within that, the most successful businesses will typically have two leaders. And one is the big picture visionary. That's like you said, Courtney, that's the ideas. And that's where I live. I live in that space of ideas. And similarly, I've had to come to that recognition that I need people around me who, one, can help me vet those ideas because I come up with way too many ideas for us to actually execute.
Yeah.
Amy, you're smiling. So there's that gift of discernment that us who are those idea generators, we need those folks who can lovingly and sometimes bluntly challenge the ideas and help us figure out what's actually going to work. And Amy, you even commented about that a little while ago as we were talking through. You're like, well, how are we going to do this? And so, Amy, what has that been like for you in the dynamics? So you're working with Courtney, big picture ideas, but how do you see your role in terms of filtering and executing to really get the balance that you guys are talking about?
Yeah, no, that's great. It is. I always am like, we are never short of ideas at Oh Grate. We can whiteboard anything you want. We have so many different strategies.
Feel
I-
that.
yeah, I do love it. I mean, that's like one of my favorite things about being a business owner, being an entrepreneur. There is a lot of different directions that we can go. And sometimes I lean towards, like I want it written down. I want to plan. I want to know the step by step of how we're going to get there. And I can help in those areas for sure. But one thing I've learned about this is we always are just doing the next right thing in front of us. Fiesta Sauce, I have to acknowledge, Fiesta Sauce was one of those pivotal things in our business that sent it to the next level. That is the product that's in Kroger. And that wasn't written in any kind of plan that we had. That was just something that Courtney had made that we served our staff, and we all loved it. And we thought, hey, let's just try to sell this. And then it just caught on. And here we are. So it's always just kind of doing the next right thing. I think a lot of times in my role and my balance of Courtney's ideas is just keeping the train moving and keeping us on track and just keeping us pushing forward on an idea. And I think that, and then we come back together at the end of these things. That's why I brought up Fiesta Sauce. So we achieved this big goal of getting Fiesta Sauce into Kroger. It was a lot of hard work. It was persistence. If you see a brand in Kroger, you need to know that they have spent a significant amount of time trying to get into Kroger. So in a way, it really felt like we had achieved the pinnacle, this huge goal that we had worked towards. And the day of the launch of Fiesta Sauce, we made a big social media presence about it. It was very exciting. We had shirts made, we had cookies made. I mean, we both were out there at all these Krogers. We had diversified the staff to get out there. And it was a very exciting day. But it was so interesting because at the end of the day, or maybe the next day, Courtney and I both were like, is this it? Like, why were we not excited?
Sure.
We celebrated, but I think it was so unique and so good for us to both be so connected and have the same feeling of like, well, that was good. But immediately we were both like, what's next? So we sat down and applied for Walmart the next day.
That's awesome. I love
Yes.
that. I love that.
I think there always is a time to celebrate, but you've got to, as an entrepreneur, continue to push yourself forward.
Well, and I think in business, you're always moving. It's just a question of what direction. Are you moving forward or are you starting to slide back? And so, yeah, so that's awesome.
And I want to add, I felt really indifferent feeling that way. So I want to encourage anybody that listens to this, if you find yourself achieving what seems like something so great and people are just celebrating all around you and they're so excited for you, but you on the inside are just almost dying, like, why don't I feel as excited as everybody else is? I think what I recognized and when I was really trying to think through that and understand why I felt that way was I was more proud of what we did to get there. It wasn't like, seeing Fiesta Sauce sitting on the shelf at Kroger is like, oh, that's mine. I still go buy it every time I'm in my Kroger, of course, to see the stock, but really understanding and celebrating what it took to get there, not just for Amy and I, but our team. That's what was monumental. What we learned, I mean, that is what's going to take us to the next level, all the steps along the way. And that's what I wanna remember, that's what I wanna the tears, all the things.
It's important to highlight what you guys are sharing is it's not about the success. Because I think in our business world, it's easy to read the magazine covers or see somebody posting on Instagram about their success. And it's this perception that it's easy or that if you just follow the absolute right system and you check all the boxes, that you're going to have this great success, whatever that is, financial or hitting whatever milestone. But one, it gets messy. And I know just from our previous conversations and just having been in business for 20 years, it gets messy. And I think that's something that most CEOs and business owners know. But I think it's always good to be encouraged by that, that those visible moments of success, it's kind of the old adage of, that overnight success only took 10 years or whatever it is to get there. And so now, as you guys are continuing to grow and shift and evolve, I want to land the plane with this, and that's the chapter that you're in now. This next thing, you've gone from frozen meals on your porch, having a physical location, delivering meals, to now you have your Fiesta sauce in Kroger. So obviously, this has grown a lot since 2019. Now you're applying for Walmart. So as you guys are anticipating this next season of growth, what are some of the things that you're doing based on all the things that you've learned? And I love the fact that you're doing that. You're pausing and you're looking and you're reflecting and you're learning. So what are some of the things that you're doing now to position yourself for continued growth?
Most recently, we've really tried to focus on breaking down the business into just sections, whether it's marketing or retail store, the back of the house and production, chefs. I mean, there's so many different areas that we have. And so just really asking the question to ourselves and with each other of, okay, we need the best that we can have, understanding what the business can afford. We have to hire the best that we can right now in order to free us up. We have to be freed up in order to continue down this road of elevating the business, continued growth. What's the next step? Because it's not just apply to Walmart. There's so many things that go with that. Getting into Walmart looks very different than getting into Kroger. So while we did learn a lot from getting into Kroger, we'll be able to take some of that with us. It still is a different process. There were some bumps along the way with Kroger that delayed it. And it was frustrating in the moment, but I kept reminding myself and Amy, like, it's okay. Like, God is doing this for a reason, number one. But number two, we need this time so we can be better when it is time. Again, I think it's those moments that is going to continue to propel us to the next best thing, the next great thing for us.
I would add to that, Courtney has really led the charge on putting systems in place and getting away from just the business relying so much on Courtney and Amy, the founders being so centric. And like she said, hiring the right people, but having the systems in place so that it gives us the freedom to dream, to grow. And then having systems in place for any business is essential to scaling, because if we do want to grow, we're going to wear ourselves out if we continue doing all the things that we've always done,
Or holding the information in our heads.
or
Like,
holding it.
has to get out.
Yes.
Here's how to do it. I can't.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Courtney and I both are what we consider, each of us are lifelong learners. We are reading or listening to podcasts or challenging each other with, sometimes I'll read a book and be like, this is what it says. So you don't have to read it. I'm going to give you the nuggets.
Yeah.
You read it and you tell me. So we kind of like brain share this information. And so I think for us, we want to really put ourselves into roles where we're able to truly lead the business into the next chapter, and empowering those around us to be able to do the same. And systems is what makes that happen, and just relinquishing some of the control, which obviously everyone has issues with.
Well, and especially when it's something that you have built from the ground up.
Yeah.
Here in a moment, before we wrap up, I want to give you all a chance to share what advice would you share with other business owners and CEOs. But before we do that, I want to pull out a few of the things that I've learned from y'all and heard from this conversation. And number one is, as you're growing, one, learn from what's worked and what hasn't in the past, whether it's in your current business or your past business. And you got to know your strengths as a CEO, as a business owner, as a leader. You got to know what you're good at and what you're not, and find the people who are good at your weaknesses. And I think a lot of CEOs sometimes will push back against that, especially if it's a company that they have founded and that they have built. There is that element of control. But if you're going to grow, if you're going to scale, at some point, you've got to entrust somebody else to take over those things that you're not good at. And y'all have done that. And I love that it wasn't just at the beginning, but even now, as you're continuing to grow, you're evaluating, what do you need? What leadership needs to be in place? And then, just like you guys said, implementing the systems, because again, you can have the best marketing plan in the world, but if you don't have the operational systems to support that growth, it's going to implode.
Yeah.
And then, just even the last point here is a thread through this whole conversation, is that both of y'all are lifetime learners. It's this recognition that you don't know everything. And so you're going to continue to learn and absorb and share and have somebody else to be able to think through those ideas with. And so, Mal, I love hearing y'all's story. This is encouraging to me. Even going back to the bigger picture of, hey, we want to get families back together around the table. There's so many things. There's so many things I could dive into with y'all, but we got to wrap it up. So I would love to hear from each of you. What would be one piece of advice that you would give to other business owners, CEOs who are trying to grow and scale their company? What would you share with them about, based on your experience and based on what you've learned?
For me, it's embrace change. Like, but with change, you have to change your habits. Like, it's so easy to walk in every day with your blinders on and just do your everyday routine, whether it's, you walk in and you go to the bathroom first, or you walk in and you go to the coffee pot first, whatever it is, change it up, change your routine, your habit, and just really embrace change within the business. If you want to change, if you want something to change, you have to change something with it. If you want to lose weight, you got to change something, right? If you want to sleep better, you got to change something. It's the same in business. If you want more success, if you want an area to improve within the business, no matter what, you have to be willing to change, but it all starts with you as the leader. And oftentimes our habits are what gets in the way.
That reminds me of the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. And,
I have not read that.
it's great. And it's that understanding of even the smallest decisions in a different direction. Ultimately, we are the culmination of our decisions, and there's daily little habits. And so, yeah, absolutely. That's great advice. Thank you. How about you, Amy?
On the same similar thread, I was going to talk about change as
Nice.
well. I live as like a typical like oldest child perfectionist, lives in anxiety person. And I feel like I would not have started this business because of my own fears or feeling like I couldn't do it. And so for having Courtney to kind of push me along has been so good for me. And so sometimes I sit in those fears or anxiety. And what I've learned through this business is to be okay with changing. And in order to be successful, my word is pivot. You have to be willing to pivot. And so I think we have done that really well, of not being scared to say, okay, what is the next best thing? And how do we need to pivot to make that happen while still staying true to how we started and why we started. And so if you're not willing to embrace the things that come along and the changes that happen, and especially listening to your customers and not being willing to pivot, I think so many people just get stuck in their ways and say, this is how it is, and this is how I'm going to do it. And not being, and just being so unwilling to think differently and have a different mindset, you're not going to propel yourself forward. And so staying true to your roots, but being so willing and open to pivot and go a different direction. Like I said, did we know Fiesta Sauce was going to be this thing? No, but we followed it, and it's going to take us, it will lead us to the next thing as long as we are continually working at it and being open and able to try to continue to push ourselves forward and see a bigger picture.
Yeah, that's great insight there is knowing what your mission is and that deep why of what you do, because that's unchanging. And if it does change, it needs to be very intentional. It needs to be slow to change, but the how you do it and even the what of how you deliver that in the marketplace, that's going to shift and change. And so, you know, I think what you guys had is the Fiesta sauce, like you said, something that you guys were doing internally, but all of a sudden that one thing became what got you into Kroger. And the willingness to try that and deviate and, as you said, pivot when there are those opportunities. And that's hard sometimes because it means letting go of control. It means sometimes what you thought was going to happen, it's letting go of that desired outcome and being willing to try something different. Well, Courtney, Amy, this has been fantastic. Man, a lot of good insights here, and y'all are fun. And so I enjoyed the conversation. So thank you for being here. Now, share a little bit before we wrap up. How can folks find you if they want to order from you, if they want to find you in a Kroger? Where do they go? How do they get in touch with y'all?
Yeah, we try to make it as easy as possible to find us. So start with our website at ohgrate.com. That's OHGRATE.com. You can find our retail store in Clareville at the intersection of Houston Levee and Poplar Avenue. So we'd love to see you at our retail store. You're going to find some interesting and fun products, all related to food. Some we make in-house, some we have local partners. So we'd love to see you there. And then we're also in 20 some odd other local grocery stores and boutiques. You can find that list online. And then, of course, you can find Fiesta Sauce in Kroger in the deli section. So we are hopefully everywhere that you are.
Fantastic. I love it. And I look forward to, at some point, hopefully seeing you guys in Walmart as well.
Yes.
All right.
Thank
Fantastic.
you.
Thank you so much. You know, Annie Laurie, there's so much that I take away from this conversation. Amy and Courtney's story it's a reminder that growth almost never comes from just one big moment. It's a series of decisions made over time, usually with incomplete information. We talk about how they've learned from what didn't work in the restaurant, their willingness to rethink their model during COVID, leaning into what customers were asking for, and then having the courage and the persistence to pursue opportunities like getting Fiesta sauce into Kroger when that door cracked open.
Yes, definitely. And what I love is that none of this happened because they tried to do everything themselves. They have a real partnership that's marked by intentionality, and they've been honest about where they're strong and where they're not and where they need help. So they didn't stall out, and they have surrounded themselves with a great team. And as they are able, are hiring the best of the best to help them be positioned to seize opportunities that come their way. That kind of clarity is such a powerful leadership skill. And honestly, it's something that a lot of CEOs might struggle with.
Well, and a lot of it comes down to the self-awareness to know what you as a leader are good at and what you're not, and a willingness to build a team around you of people whose strengths complement yours. And some CEOs, some business owners will hesitate almost out of intimidation. They feel like they need to be the strongest, best person in the room, when in reality, the goal is to build a team of people around you who excel, and so that as a team, you excel. And you hear the way that they talk about their team. They're not just building a company, they're building a place where everyone can grow with them. They're investing in themselves, they're investing in their people. And so that way the whole business moves forward. And that's what healthy scaling looks like.
Definitely. In the interview, I know you brought up the EOS framework, and they're a great picture of that without even maybe doing it on purpose. I don't think that they were trying to follow EOS when they did this, but that's basically what they're doing. They've got that great visionary partnered up with that great integrator, and they're getting stuff done. I think it's amazing.
Absolutely.
And the fact that they've been able to go from mules and coolers around town or even on Courtney's front porch to being on grocery store shelves, that's really amazing. And it's not because they were chasing the hype or trying to be all things to all people. They stayed grounded in their mission to give families back time. And that's the part that sticks with me as a mom with 3 kids. Getting time back is an invaluable thing. And that's why I think they're doing so well. And when that purpose is clear, the growth just feels less frantic. It actually ends up being a lot more aligned.
And another thing that stood out to me was one, their intentionality of celebrating the wins while at the same time continuing to look forward, because they were obviously excited about Kroger, but in my conversation with them, it was clear they have other goals. That was a big stepping stone, but they've got more beyond that they're wanting to do, other chains that they want to get into. And so I can't wait to see what they do.
Yes, try the Fiesta sauce. It's delicious. I can vouch for it.
There you go. You've got Amy Laurie's recommendation brought to you by Oh Grate. And now if you're a CEO, business owner, and you're listening to this and you feel like you're hitting ceilings, or maybe you're carrying too many of the wrong things, or if you're ready for your business to grow with more intention, take a page from Amy and Courtney. Take time to assess your strengths, get honest about that, and begin the process building the team around you that supports you, that's going to support the growth of the business. And you stay connected to the people that you serve. Have conversations with your customers. Don't get so separated that you lose sight of what they really want and need and value. Combination of these intentional actions begin to create meaningful momentum.
And if you do need help getting clarity on the marketing side of things, we'd love to walk with you.
And if this conversation resonated with you, if you heard pieces of your own story and Amy and Courtney's journey, one of the best next steps that you can take is to get clarity around your marketing, because it is often the missing piece of your growth engine. And here at Wayfind Marketing, we work with growth-minded CEOs and business owners and their teams to simplify marketing. We start with strategy first. We don't jump straight into tactics. We look to cut out the noise and get clarity. And we help you understand what's working, what's not, where to focus so that your marketing actually supports the way that you want to grow your business. And a free tool that you can take advantage of on our website is our B2B marketing assessment. This is a free tool, gives you an honest, objective look at your marketing. It's a quick way to assess, so that way you can see where you're aligned and what's getting in your way. And if you're looking for even more support, we offer coaching services. You may have a marketing manager who is really good at certain things, but they need some guidance. They need a framework so that they can be better at what they do to help you scale. And so we can come alongside, serve as that coach for your marketing team and for you from a marketing perspective, so that you're making confident decisions as your business grows. You can find the assessment, learn more about our coaching, and get in touch with us at wayfindmarketing.com. Thanks for joining us today, Amy and Courtney. Appreciate you sharing your story and your honesty. And to all of you listening, we'll see you on the next episode of Growth Minded Marketing. And don't forget to subscribe and share this with your fellow CEOs.